drift right and like kill him or hit him, right?
Hey,
But
what's up?
hi, what's did you want to chat?
Yeah, because I figured since you were going over my debate, you would probably have things you wanted to say directly to me.
Oh, fuck, I don't know. Oh shit, I thought you wanted to chat. I don't think I have anything to say. I went over it all on stream.
Okay, I mean, I have a few topics if you want to talk about it, or a few, not topics, but stuff around the debate.
Yeah, sure. Wait, real quick. I just need to know. I have to get this out of the way to start. Are you a socialist?
I'm honestly leaning a little like I like the idea of socialism, but I advocate for sock dem policies.
Okay, sock them is cool. All right. Any part of you that's socialist is just fucking stupid as fuck. I totally disavow it, and I think you're a worthless fuck human being for any of the parts of you that are socialist. I just wanted to get that out of the
But
way.
only the
And if any of your
socialist
chat is
parts, right?
social, yes, and if any of
Okay.
your chat identifies socialists, they're the same to me on the internet as fucking Nazis, and I mean that with every ounce, with every fiber of my being. Fuck them, wholly, same as Nazis. Okay, say. All right, but go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
Okay. So I guess I want to give you my thoughts going into that debate and why I went about it the way that I did, and see if you think I succeeded in the way that I wanted to go about it, or if I didn't. And that's what I'm really curious about, because I did pretty significant amount of research going into that debate about Lawrence Southern, and and I didn't want to just go in like, okay, here's every bad thing you've ever done. We're gonna go over it, and you're gonna be held accountable for it, because that would be not a good idea. We're debating about a kid's book that she wrote. Like, there's not really much you can do about that other than be like, okay, so here's what you wrote. What did you mean by this? And then try to debate about whatever that runs into. My
Mm-hmm.
so, are you familiar with what Lauren Southern's recent optics goal has been?
I know that like I think a year ago she posted something wanting to be more moderate, or that she'd like kind of broke. It might have been 2 years ago. She broke off from like the more extreme things, but then looking recently, it seems like she still kind of follows some of the more extreme stuff. So I don't know, but yeah. What about it? She probably wants to be seen as more moderate. It's probably better than being like an immigrant killing, like boat riding person violating foreign laws in other countries.
Yep, yeah, you're completely right. She's sort of rebranding to be like a moderate, like center right, but like a rational, reasonable thinker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like going in and just being like, okay, so why do you believe this and this and this? Oh, you're a Nazi, yada yada yada. That would be like a horrible
Mm-hmm.
idea, optically speaking. So
To
my
be fair, if I can be a little bit charitable, hold on, wait, are you streaming on Twitch?
Twitch and YouTube, yeah.
Oh, okay. Just to be a little bit charitable, it's also possible that her views have moderated a tad as well. That is possible too. That there is some legitimate change in belief over time there. If you guys are all gonna, because you guys all fucking simp so fucking hard over that Shoehead dipshit. If you guys are all gonna simp over her, then I can be a little bit charitable and say like, it's possible that Lauren has moderated a bit on her views over time, even if she is still like a Western values, white values kind of person.
Yeah, like you said before or a long time ago, you can't know what somebody's thinking. You have to kind of look at what they say. And lately, it doesn't seem like she's advocated for like the Great Replacement or white genocide stuff. So that would make me look even worse if I went in being like, "You're a Nazi. Look at this shit that you did back in 2016, 2017. This documentary you made 3 years ago, where you went to
Mm-hmm.
this country and you did this." That it would look really, really bad. My main goal, I guess, was to come off as like a not crazy triggered SJW to a lot of the conservatives in our audience. And to be fair, I've gotten quite a few messages from her fans saying, "Hey, I thought all liberals and lefties and people on the left were crazy and triggered and yada yada, and you were really reasonable." And I've gotten quite a few subscribers from her fan base because of that. So I feel like, while I definitely could have done better in that ballpark, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in that respect. I guess, and you probably agree with this. Obviously, I got a few facts wrong, which is unfortunate because you can't see exactly where a debate about a kid's book is going to fractal off to. But
Mm-hmm.
when it came to the issue of like which issue do you think I did the best at, and which do you think I did the worst at when it came to like an argument over a topic?
So it's going to be hard to like do like best and worst because I think I disagree. I think the biggest problem was the framing of the conversation. Um, like it is entirely possible that like a conservative person could put together like a children's book and it not be like a horrible thing. I think is like I think so. I think like framing this conversation as a discussion about the book and then trying to use that as like an opportunity to talk about like her past wrongs. I think that's kind of rhetorically a mistake because I think it's going to make it look like and feel like an ambush. And there were even multiple points in the conversation. She was like, okay, I want to get back to talking about the book or whatever.
Yeah, that was one of the worst things because I had the debate was about the book. Like that was the thing that started the whole Twitter argument that led into the debate. But like what is there really to debate about the book? The book on its own in a vacuum isn't that big a deal. It's just kind of primes. It's meant to prime
Well,
kids
sure,
for
but
like conservative values, right?
but that's her whole point, right? The
Yeah.
book in a vacuum isn't really a problem.
Yeah, but then there's not really much debate about then.
That was her whole point. That's why she took this debate, right? Because you basically came out before her book was even released saying like, "Oh, I bet this book is going to be horrible. Let's debate about it." And it's like, "Well, how how could you even know that?"
Uh,
That's her entire argument, right?
Yeah, the book was out and I read it before the debate. I don't know why, but a lot of people keep saying I didn't read the book. I read it multiple times in prepreparation
Well, it
for
was
the
that you
debate.
hadn't
But yeah.
read the book before issuing the challenge, is
Oh
my
yeah.
understanding.
So
Yeah.
like the way she advertised it was like to combat the woke lefty narrative or whatever on Twitter, and that's what kind of the original. What actually ended up happening was I just like quote tweeted the tweet about the book and was like, "Hey, I'm going to cover this on stream. Does anyone have a few pages of it that I can cover?" And then she quote tweeted me and said, "Oh, here are a few." And I said, "All right. I'll buy the book if you agree to come on stream and talk about it with me." And she said, "Okay, cool." Followed me on Twitter. We started talking in DMs. I bought the book. I read it. And then that's how we ended up having this conversation. But yeah, I feel like her having that constant get out of jail free card with like the book, being able to say, "Oh, well, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the book." I feel like that was constantly like a hindrance of my ability to debate her.
Um. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like this whole thing, like you set yourself up at the beginning. Even if the intentions were a little bit more nuanced than just like I hate your book, now let's argue about it that I haven't read yet. I think the framing of it came off that way, and even the initial conversation, like when you guys started talking, was going to be about the book. It feels like you set yourself up like in an impossible, like you were in an impossible battle right at the start because the technically the conversation was about the book, right?
So do you think like my first big mistake was like the entire concept of what we were debating?
Yeah, I think that was just like a huge mistake, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't like JF, and I'll argue JF on almost any part of his moral philosophy. But like, I would never say like JF, everything you've done is so stupid. Like I'm gonna argue over something you've published before. I think it's probably dumb too. And then I read it and I like I don't know if that's true. Like I'm sure if he, I think he's a PhD. I don't remember if he is, and he's published something. So like but I don't know if everything he's published is bad or not, right? That would be a bad approach. I would get destroyed in a conversation if I did that, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. I want to go in with something like in the future with debates. I want to go in with like this is the topic we're discussing. This is a thing that I can research. This is something I can just bury my face in for the next 3 days and learn everything about, and then we can debate about that. So I definitely agree. That's like the entire premise was probably like immediately she already had a leg up on me on that one. I guess I wrote some notes before the debate, and like my four main objectives going into it were hold on, let me read them off. Do not platform Lauren in a way that makes her harmful ideas more palatable to your audience, but make yourself palatable to her audience. Do you think like my audience was like swayed towards Lauren Southern?
I think she looked fairly reasonable. I mean, your audience as a breadtuber are probably going to be majority like deranged socialists that are never going to be persuaded by anything because their friends don't believe a certain thing, so they're probably safe. But like in terms of like people in the center, I think that it made Lauren look very reasonable. I think we have to be really careful. I think that a lot of care must be taken when it comes to defending some of the more extremist rhetoric on the left, because to average Americans or to average humans, it's just not going to be defensible. Like people going on Twitter and doing this shit where they talk about how like there's a fucking revolution and peace isn't going to be an option and blah 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 blah. Like I don't think it's very hard to attack or condemn Trump for his rhetoric and then to just come out and be chill with that kind of stuff. Like to an average person, it's just always going to make you look insane, I think. And I think that she had the upper hand there where like we'll quote stuff that Kaepernick has said and then condemn Trump, who's in a vacuum. What Trump is saying isn't quite as bad. Now, in totality, it's pretty obvious what Trump is doing. But like, I think you just have to, I say bite the bullet, but I don't think it's I don't think it's that big a bullet to bite. You just have to be like, yeah, I think that violent rhetoric probably shouldn't exist on Twitter, period, even if it's BLM people doing it or something else.
Yeah, I agree with that. With the Kaepernick quote and the BLM riots, I feel like I definitely should have just said, nope, I don't support those either. The reason Colin Kaepernick probably didn't get banned is because he didn't say that on Twitter and he didn't have the millions of eyes on him that the president has, right? That would probably have been a better
Sure,
way to
although
go
that's
at it.
again not good because I mean Kaepernick is pretty popular, right? Like
Yeah, but I don't know if
Like
he's
if Kaepernick was like a random person, sure, but we can't be like, oh, well, he's not the president. It's like, sure, but he's like an internationally known athlete. Then like,
Okay, so do you, because I don't know if that could have been a good way to, it would have been a better way to go about it. Would have been saying, well, okay, well the reason Trump got banned was because Kaepernick probably didn't have as many eyes on him, but at the same time she could have been like, oh, he's a big athlete, ex-football player. Yeah, I don't know. I think that in the future, just like biting the bullet on that one is probably the best thing to do. Just be like, okay, yeah, riot's bad, and that would have worked. You did say that? No, I don't think I said that.
Mm-hmm.
Balance tone in a way that won't scare off her audience. Like, don't go at her like crazy. And I feel like I kept my composure pretty well.
Okay, kind of. So I'm getting irritated by this because I think that I conduct myself generally in conversations in a pretty respectful way, but I see a lot of people do things that I would qualify as like debate bro things. And for some reason, people accuse me of doing this. I don't think I do this much, but I see it happen a lot. There are a couple things that I see. I'm being pretty harsh or pretty critical here, but I see a lot of people do it. Not just you, Vosh. There's a ton of people do this. I think you have to be really careful with a couple of traps. One, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, Xander, but calling somebody by their name in the middle of the conversation is a very condescending thing to do. And I think that most people will get that, Xander. Like, very immediately will
Yeah.
pick up on that. I would be really careful for stuff like that because it makes you come off like, now, if the other person is being a piece of shit and another person is like going hard on you, I believe in matching tone. So if somebody wants to be a piece of shit to me, I'll roll around in the dirt because I think it's fun. But if the other person's being relatively respectful and you start laying in with like this is a logical fallacy or like the studies don't show this, blah, 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 like that's stuff that is at the bottom, I think. So for instance, in the trans conversation, I think it's good to engage them on the material and engage them on I'll say the philosophical levels, like the ideas back and forth. Don't appeal to the studies until you've hit some like fundamental rock bottom where you just disagree over the numbers. Because I think that you can find common ground and win rhetorically on higher levels rather than somebody saying, well, this is my opinion on this. And then you just going, well, all the studies disagree with you. I think that as soon as you say that, I think that it comes across as kind of like a debate tactic, or when you start calling out people for like gish galloping, or when you start using philosophy terms like consequentialism, like when you start saying stuff like this, I think it comes off as very debate bro-y. When Lauren Southern, for whatever faults she has rhetorically, comes off as like a very like polite, like trying to engage in honest conversation, like I don't want to say like naive person or whatever, but she comes off as being like very well mannered, very good faith, very trying to like understand both sides and everything, and is willing to make concessions seemingly when it seems like she has lost a point. So I think I would be very careful in trying to come off as like overly aggressive there.
Okay, yeah, because I felt like I wasn't aggressive enough. Like I let her talk too much at times, and I was too polite at some points. I didn't think about like the saying her name thing during a conversation. I didn't consider that being like rude. But in hindsight, no, that does make sense. Do you think I should have interrupted her more?
It's not a matter of no. I don't think you should have interrupted her more. I think that like my goal when I talk to like I don't know if I would call it alt right, I don't know, but for like conservatives or for anybody who disagrees, I think the goal is to like find common ground and then steer them towards your prescription. I think one of the big problems a lot of leftists or progressives or whatever are having these days is they're not willing to acknowledge what everyone in the world sees as just being obviously true. I think that it's better to just acknowledge what is obviously true and then move towards what you believe we should be doing, in the future. So, like, for instance, I don't remember this exactly, but like the subject on cancel culture. Cancel culture is cancer culture. We need to stop. This shit is just fucking so beyond fucking cringe.
Yeah.
99% of people in the center and everyone on the right sees it as being fucking cringe. Don't ever die on that hill. When somebody starts talking about like, oh, like cancel, be like, yeah, cancel culture sucks. Like, yeah, it's definitely gone overboard in some cases. And then boom, move off that topic. Because if you get bogged down trying to deny its existence, everybody in the middle like looks at you like, what the fuck? This guy is like such an ideologue. Like, of course this shit is horrible, right? I would just say like acknowledge shit that are like bad, and then move on to like your prescription. Like move on to where you go from there. I'm trying to think like during the trans conversation, there were so many directions you could have taken it, and you felt like I don't know how familiar people are with all the topics, but some of the things that came out were just really bad here. The argument that you tried to make about how like, well, there's a lot of people that regret doing like chemotherapy and radiation, I don't think was a strong point rhetorically. I think that most people don't want to have cancer and are willing to suffer a great deal to get rid of cancer. It's probably not the best argument to go down. I think that like hitting on SSRIs could be really good there, right? I think that SSRIs and a lot of like HRT stuff can be pretty comparable. people have gender dysphoria. We could put them on puberty blockers at a young age. There are negative side effects to that. We must acknowledge that there are side effects or negative side effects. However, the goal when you prescribe any medication is that hopefully the positives will outweigh any potential negative side effects. The same is true of SSRIs. When you put somebody on an SSRI, they could become more suicidal. They could have other problems. There's issues related to libido, weight gain, hormone management, blah, 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 blah. But we hope that the pros outweigh the cons. I think that going with the comparison there to like SSRIs was way better than the weird cancer comparison.
Yeah, I thought at the time at least, and my thoughts with the cancer comparison was because I felt like a lot of people, especially in the audience, have probably had like a loved one who's died from cancer, has had to fight cancer, and at least in my experience and the experience of a lot of people I know, there's a shit ton of a regret when it comes to getting treatment for cancer because chemo and radiation, that shit sucks. A lot of people get
Wait. I don't know what that means. I think that most people would rather suffer the chemo and radiation than die of cancer. No?
I guess it depends on maybe this is my bias, my experience. Like my whole family had to like convince my grandma to get like chemo and to actually get treatment for it. She just wanted to be like, okay, this is how long I have left. I think the quote was she wanted to die with a fishing pole in her hand. And I imagine that like a lot of people have had that experience. But honestly, if you think that was probably not the best way to go.
I think that might be the case. So I think that it's very, very important to try to distinguish who we're talking about. If you're talking about like an 80-year-old person that's already on kind of like, I don't want to say on death's door, but like they're old and blah, blah, blah. And then they get like a cancer and it's like a 20% survival rate. And it's like, you know, okay, sure. Like this person might not want to do chemo and radiation. Like that's fine. Okay. Now everybody has their own personal biases here. But if you don't acknowledge that, you could end up sounding really bad to some people. So my kid's mom had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she absolutely wanted to do chemo and radiation because she was like fucking 25 years old. She doesn't want to die to fucking cancer when she's in her 20s. So like for anybody that had like a cancer experience or people that were under the age of like 50 or 60, when they hear something like that, it's like, wait, hold on, what? Some people regret, chemo, and I'm sure that there are people that are younger that, died fighting all the way to the end that didn't necessarily regret their chemotherapy. John, Total Biscuit comes to mind for somebody that had, I think it was rectal cancer, and he ended up dying at the end. But I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't remember him ever saying like, oh, I should have never done chemo. I should have just died earlier, I would navigate those waters carefully or be more clear exactly about what you're talking about.
Yeah, feels bad man 7, of course. I definitely agree. I think that's like a very niche example that I don't know if it appeals to as many people as I thought it did at the time. I think the SSRI one is probably a bit more broad because don't like a significant amount of people deal with mental health issues.
Yeah, not only that, but it's also something that we tend to prescribe to children. It's also something that like children don't like. You can argue, like, does a child know their gender, blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, well, does a child know if they're depressed, blah, blah, blah. We still prescribe them SSRIs, right? Do you think we should stop all forms of, like, anti-SSRI treatment? Now, they might bite the bullet on that. They might say, yeah, we shouldn't prescribe any of those drugs to anybody. I think that depending on how the conversation goes, that kind of makes them look bad. Like, should you not be allowed to prescribe any type of, like, ADHD medication, anything like that? Like, I think that you can make them bite the bullet on that and then move on. I think still looks okay for your side. Also, conservatives like to draw this differentiation between male and female so much. They like hardcore harp on this. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I've heard this study thrown out a million times by anti-trans people or by like gender realist people when they're like, that babies, when they're only 2 or 3 months old, did you know that babies, male and female babies, play with different types of toys? Males play with puzzle toys and females, blah, blah, blah. And this is actually something that's been studied quite a bit. Jordan Peterson brings it up. It's true. Male babies and female babies do play in different ways with different types of toys. If you have evidence of babies doing this, then who are you to say that somebody that's 14 doesn't know anything about their fucking gender? Like, what a weird fucking thing to say. I think it's good to bring up stuff like that because for some reason conservatives like to treat children, I say children, adolescent people, like they're just totally dumb fucks about everything in their life. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's good to be able to bring up stuff like that, but that's just knowing it at the time, I think.
Yeah, I think the example that I always brought up is like most people, I feel like when they were in elementary school probably had like their first crush and probably were able to figure out what their sexuality was, because if you're little Timmy and you have a crush on little Sally, good chances are that you're straight. Not always, but at that point, like you can be 10 years old and have your first crush. And I feel like I've drawn that comparison a lot when it comes to gender identity.
Yeah, it could be over like gay stuff too. It might be that like would you say that like somebody who's 14 like doesn't know if they're gay? Would you say that somebody who's like 15, 16 should be forced to date the opposite gender until they're 18 and can make a decision? Like we wouldn't say stuff like this. It would be ridiculous. Thankfully, like the gay issues and everything have come far enough that even conservatives won't be like they were in the 90s about that stuff, or 80s maybe. I don't know how far back it would go, but especially over the past like 10 or 20 years, I don't think you're going to find very many conservative people that are going to say like, oh yeah, gay conversion therapy is good. Like that's a pretty fringe position, even among conservatives these days. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree. I think that pushing like because no conservative, like you said, is going to go against the gay people. It's just that issue is
Not
so
on
much.
that level.
Yeah, so much acceptance for gay people in the country at this point, and even like most Western countries, right? That biting that bullet for a conservative is a really bad look. So drawing a comparison there can be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my final one, and I know I failed this one. Do not let Lauren slide away from the topics. That one I feel like I completely failed at.
Yeah, kind of. But again, this was hard because the topics were technically supposed to be about her book. So like a lot of people might, I guess, like maybe in a left leaning audience, people might feel like she was the one that was pivoting. But I'm sure from her point of view and for a lot of other people, it might have felt like the conversation was already like kind of an ambush, because like she came there to talk about like her kid's book. And then all of a sudden it ended up being a conversation about, like every, like all of her political views and everything, right? It ended up being way different than probably she maybe thought it was going to be. Maybe she knew going in, but
yeah, like
so it's hard to say like where the pivot. Like, are people really going to see her as pivoting if she's like saying that like, hey, like I would rather just focus on my book? Like maybe to somebody like in a left leaning audience that might feel like a pivot, but I'm pretty sure to her it probably just feels like that's what she came to talk about.
Yeah, I guess this doesn't really matter so much for the audience because the audience doesn't know what was discussed before the debate happened in DMs. But like our agreement for this discussion was like we would start off with the book and then we would move into like the topics that would sort of fractal off from it. And that's what I expected going in. And I assume if she's good faith, that's what she expected as well. And it definitely felt like I let her get away with that too much. I feel like I should have said like,
yeah, but when we say like fractal going off from it sounds like I don't think that means that we take like an article on groupthink and then make that about like BLM. I don't think that that's the type of fractaling that she was probably thinking of. It probably just more had to do in general with like the type of book.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense to me. Even if that was what she thought it was going to be, it wouldn't matter because the audience didn't know that, and that's what.
Yeah, that's
matters
what
at
I
the end
felt
of
like
the
at the
day.
beginning. I thought it was literally just a conversation about the book.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I want to go over this one really quick because I hear so many people talking about it. And I feel like they overblow it a little bit. I wasn't initially going to do this because I thought it maybe made Blair, or not, I don't know why I said Blair. I thought it maybe made Lauren look a little bit too like palatable to my audience or to any like progressives watching. But the trans rights thing, asking her to say trans rights, and I was like, but my chat was like saying, get her to say trans rights. I was like, okay, whatever. Okay. Lauren, say trans rights. And she was like, okay, yeah, trans rights. Can you say white rights? And I was like, I love white people. And then I said like white rights because I figured like if I refuse to say
I think people
that,
will meme it. People will meme it because you're saying white rights to somebody that was arguably, at least at one point, a white nationalist, which was probably not good. Like, I don't think it was that big a deal, but I don't care. But I also think it's super cringe when people do like the trans rights thing. I think it's cringe when any of that shit. So I don't think it was that big a deal. People are probably going to meme it really hard on you for a while though, or maybe forever. So
yeah, it's perfect clippable material. But if we're being honest, there's everyone that doesn't like me will find something to clip to like keep posting on the internet. It never goes away. It's the internet. I guess this is like a final overarching question. Then I'll let you get back to the space game. Do you think so? I got into like left leaning politics, watching a lot of your debates, and going into it, I know from your history that you argued with people constantly. You got into like real blood battles in games, like shit talking each other. You did debates like way back in the day. So I don't think anyone's really seen you before you were competent with debating. For me, I've only been doing this for like I've done maybe like a few actual debates, and I've only been doing this for 2 years. Is it really just a practice thing? Just keep doing it, and you'll get better, or is it something that like there's something about your personality at a base level that makes you good at debating?
There's something you learn this as a music major. I imagine you probably learn this if you pursue any skill. If you pursue any skill at a high level, in high school you learn a phrase called "practice makes perfect," right? And then once you hit college, the first thing people do is they erase that thought from your mind because it's absolutely not true. The actual phrase is supposed to be "perfect practice makes perfect." So you have to practice something to get better at it, but the practice needs to be deliberate. Just doing something over and over again will not necessarily make you good at it. You have to be deliberate in terms of, I need to improve on this, I need to change this, I need to do that. So for me, there's two parts that helped me get good, I think, at what I do. The first part is that I had a lot of natural practice because you literally lived and died by your ability to shit talk on video games in my day. Okay, I'm 32. I think you're a little younger, right?
I'm 21.
21. Okay. Back in the day, games are way different now, okay? But back in the day, if you couldn't out shit talk your opponent online, okay, you were trash, you were garbage. Nobody wanted to be your friend. People murdered your family, okay? You were
Mm-hmm.
basically third world, okay, citizen. You were nobody. So I've had lots of practice shit talking people on the internet, which like prepares you for like thinking quickly, countering what people are saying, integrating like jokes and shit. Like it sounds stupid, but I think that practice actually helps a significant degree keep up in a live conversation because live combos are hard. And if you haven't noticed this yet, even I do this. I do this still today, where you'll listen back to a conversation, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, why am I not understanding what they're saying?" Like, "Oh fuck, I'm totally missing this," or "Oh my god, why didn't I respond with that? It would have been so good." Like, it'll happen. It still happens. It's really hard to do things on the spot. Which, by the way, nobody criticizing you will ever acknowledge that or understand that. They think that, like, oh, well, I would have thought of this. It's the ultimate, like, shower coaching where everybody's like, shower thoughts. They think they'd be able to do them live on the spot. Nobody can do this shit live on the spot. It's really, really, really fucking difficult. So you have to like review your conversations. You have to be deliberate about it. You've got to think that like, oh, like blah, 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 like, or I shouldn't say blah, blah, sorry. You have to be like, oh, okay, well, I said this, I could have done this, or rhetorically, I don't think this was good. This could have been, like, you have to make a conscious effort to review your stuff, figure out what worked and didn't work. The two things, I'm sorry, real quick. The first thing was that I've done this a lot growing up, even before I started streaming. I was arguing with people. And then the second thing is I used to read, I still do to some extent. I read a lot of other communities' feedback about me to get a feeling for how I did in a conversation. So anytime I would have a big debate with somebody, I'm reading my subreddit and my chat. I'm usually reading their chat. And then I'm usually reading, like, if 4chan threads pop up about me in the politics board, I'll read that. I'll check like comments about me on my Kiwi Farms thread. And then I'll check any of like the more weird forums, like if I'm posted on the Daily Stormer or some other whatever liberal thing, to get like an idea of like how people are feeling about me in the other communities as well. And you can pick up like certain trends based on how you did in the conversation. And that's a really important part too, to review like what worked and what didn't work. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No problem with like the continuing the thing, by the way. Like the content that I always liked best from you was when you talked about like your upbringing and how you got to where you are now. No, that's actually really interesting because so you played a lot of like games like StarCraft, right? You get into these League is a big one. You get into these lobbies. It's a constant shit talking match, right? Like I didn't have internet until I was 10. And then I immediately got into like Minecraft. I didn't have that third world going at each other, upbringing where I was constantly arguing with people. And with like my family dynamic, like my mom did not allow me to ever not be polite. So like the politeness has been drilled into my brain, and that's something that I feel like I need to get over to a degree because being afraid to. I've played Sevtech, it's good. Being afraid to just get down and dirty with somebody before they've gotten to that point with you, I feel like that kind of holds me back a little bit, or a lot.
Well, like, keep in mind that like getting down and dirty that's like a very specific form of argumentation, but you don't ever have to do that. Like Jordan Peterson doesn't do that, and people think that he's like, and Ben Shapiro doesn't like scream at people on the internet for whatever people think about his debate tactics or whatever. Or Steven Crowder isn't in conversations like screaming at people. You don't have to do that ultra aggressive. In fact, it pains me to say this, and it's sad to say this because probably where I excel the most. I would argue that form of like conversation is largely like gone. I think that was gone at around like 2019. I think people stopped doing that when everybody realized that like they had more to lose from debates than actually gaining from them. So I think like now, I think that the goal is when you look at people and how they have conversations these days, I think that like studying Vosh can be like a good example. So Vosh is never actually, if you watch the way that he does debates, Vosh isn't barely even listening to what the other person is saying. Almost all of his statements are directed at the audience, where it's one of those things. It's almost like a fourth wall where like somebody might be debating Vosh over a topic, but all Vosh is saying is things that he thinks makes him look the best rhetorically in front of his audience and maybe to people in the center, hopefully, although sometimes he does better at it than other times. But I think that like that style of conversation seems to be more rhetorically effective and more popular than definitely than being ultra combative, or two, even like legitimately engaging with the points of the person you're arguing with. It just depends, I guess, what your goal is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess I do miss like watching those old really blood sports debates from like 2016, 2017, even early 2018. It is sad that stuff's gone now because God, it would have been if I was more competent at debating, if I was better at it, that shit would have been so fun to be a part of. But I guess that's gone now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the problem is pretty simple. Do you remember the Raj Royale on Twitch? Did you ever look at any of this
back
shit?
before Austin show? Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is that like those types of people just don't make it very long. I'm gonna jerk myself up a little. People get spoiled by people like me, and I think maybe Vosh is like this. But like the types of personalities that can continuously fight with people and like have fun doing that. This is a very very rare, very abnormal personality type. Most people don't enjoy that type of like conflict over and over and over again. These communities generally become incredibly self-destructive incredibly quickly. We saw it happen to the entire septic community, all the anti-SJWs when all the infighting began and shit, when people started going against Thunderfoot, when Sargon started to get exiled from the community, when people started to leave. We saw it happen in a smaller community with like Tonka Saw and Tonka Saw and all of the people in that community, JF, Andy Worski, they kind of like fell into disarray and they started infighting. We saw it happen with the Raj Royale on Twitch, which isn't even politics based, really. Those people started to fall away into infighting. Like most people just don't want to be involved in conflict like that over long periods of time. They just can't handle it. It feels horrible to most humans. It's like it's a very alien type of thing to do, and like most normal people don't enjoy that type of thing. So I don't think that that type of content is never going to survive very long in any particular community.
I guess
Unfortunately, but
you are right. Like you can't just have constant, nonstop. Every conversation you have with somebody is blood. I do like occasionally, whenever I see like the like what was the big mad guy that couldn't stop panting like a fucking panther and kept talking about your son?
no, Jack. It's not Jack Ryan. Jack something. I've got a section of it on my site. But go ahead. Jack Allison, maybe.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what his name is. He's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Like having the occasional blood debate like that, that's always fun, and I do like that. And I want to be able to do really good faith, like calm on the topic debates as well. But I also do want to be able to get to the point where I can go all in with like the really bloody, violent debates. You know, is that just something that you? Is that something that am I at this point as a 21-year-old too old to like learn that shit?
I mean, no, you can. You just have to practice. It's just a matter of practicing it. But like, yeah, I'm a big believer in matching people's energy. If somebody's gonna come at me like real crazy, I'll go crazy back. I'm fine with that. But if somebody's not doing that and you're the one that takes it there first, like you're gonna look really bad, I think.
Well, yeah, you can't just like dive into that on your own. But I guess it's like you have to gauge the debate to figure out like, okay, are they getting to a point where it would be okay to start digging in for blood? I guess.
You want practice? The closest you're going to get to blood sports now is you can try Demon Mama, but I think that that's always going to be really hard because anytime you fight with Demon Mama, you're always going to get called transphobic. So basically, it sucks to say this, but in my opinion, I think trans people are generally off limits for debate on the internet because you're always going to get called transphobic no matter how you engage with them. So I would be like really careful there. But if you want to argue with people that want to talk about like the genocide and the Uyghur stuff for China, that's probably where you're going to find the most passionate debate online now because people are very quick to whataboutism for the United States. And a lot of leftists, even if they aren't tankies, will like simp hard for fucking China and like quickly condemn and make bad comparisons to the US. So that's probably going to find like most of the blood sports these days. But I don't think you're going to get people screaming at you over like social health care or something like that. Yeah.
The only person I can think of that does like the really crazy shit is the infrared dude, and that guy's like, I'm pretty sure that dude's trolling. Like besides that, I think like the most well known.
He's, oof. I mean, I wouldn't. He does troll. He's fairly smart.
I don't know.
Wait, who is Lanny in your chat?
Lonnie's my girlfriend.
Oh, nice. She's a fucking moron. So like, she even just did it to me. What I just said was that is transphobic. Sorry. Go ahead. What were we saying? Oh yeah, the infrared guy. He's like he's a character. I think that if you catch him being calm, you can be calm. But he's also somebody that will meme and go big into the blood sports. But he plays like a character, so I would never. I don't like to argue like that with characters because then I feel stupid. Like I'm being sincere and they're just a character. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yep. My girlfriend's off limits. Okay. All right.
What? Tell her to stop talking shit about me then. Okay, sorry.
But I can't control her. Wait, I can't control.
Then you can't control me talking shit about her. What the fuck?
I can't listen. I can't control women. I don't have that power. All right. I don't have
to stop protecting them. Treat them like equal people. All right.
All right. Yeah.
Say dumb shit.
Equal rights means equal fights. Okay. No, but seriously though, I think. I guess like the main thing that concerns me is that a lot of people, I guess like the debate sphere, especially in politics, has sort of had the ground laid by, at least on the like the progressive side, has had the ground laid by you and Vosh as well, even though I started doing YouTube and even politics before Vosh did. And so every time I do a debate or anything that I do, everybody will always compare me to either you or Vosh. And that's something I'm just never going to be able to like get away from, I feel like.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's obvious. It becomes very clear, even people like Demon Mama, when they're kind of like inspired by certain people, because a lot of the mannerisms and stuff are going to be similar. So people are always going to make those comparisons. I mean, there's nothing you can do to escape that.
Yeah, I guess. Is there like any advice that you would give for dealing with that?
Be your own person. I don't know.
Be
It's it.
yourself.
Yeah, it's easy for me to say because I don't like to watch anybody else. So everything I do is kind of like I don't ever have to worry about that. But I mean, if I did consume, if I was like a mass consumer of content, I would probably start to take on a lot of the like mannerisms of those people. I don't know how you escape that. I mean, like I kind of do with like friends and shit. Like I'll even like Mr. Moot, and I'll complain that some meme he does is like incredibly fucking stupid, and then I'll find myself like unironically saying it like 3 or 4 days later. But Mr. Moot doesn't do politics. So I imagine if I was listening to any political figure, I would start to copy their mannerisms and shit. It would just happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I copy the mannerisms of non-political figures like more. Like I don't know, I watch like a fair amount of Summit and Trainwrecks, so
Mm-hmm.
that like some of their mannerisms rub off on me. And I guess when you hang out with somebody, like because I'm friends with Vosh, obviously some of his stuff rubs off on me. I watch your content, and you rub
Mm-hmm.
off on me all the time. Uh, um, no, but I feel like that's something that you can't really avoid, and all I can really do is argue with people whenever they say that or ignore it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the reaction I want to see from DGG. Good job, guys. Um, yeah, I guess that's basically all. Unless there was anything else you want to go over.
Nope. I mean, practice makes perfect. You just got to keep doing it. Good luck.
All right. Final meme. Fuck Mike from PA. I think DGG can appreciate that. Fuck Mike
True.
from
Let's
PA.
find some common ground here. Not just fuck Mike from PA. Fuck all socialists. Amen, brother. Oh, also, one more thing. It's guillotine, please. Guillotine, 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 guillotine. Say it.
Did I say
Wait, say
guillotine?
guillotine.
Did I say
Say,
that?
say
Guillotine.
guillotine rights. Guillotine rights.
Guillotine
Yes.
rights. I fucked
That
up.
true. Oh, so you want to guillotine the rights? That's what you're saying. You want to kill conservatives. Good one,
I would
Xander
never
Hall, you're banned.
advocate
See
for
you later.
that. Fuck. He got me on that last one there. That was a good one. You see that right there? That's what I got to get good at. That was quick thinking. I got to get good at that. All right, really quickly. All right, listen. Destiny hates lefties. There's nothing I can do about that, but I got some good advice from that, and I'm glad I did it. All right? I'm not going to white knight for my own girlfriend. If anybody is curious about that, she's fine. But we did get some good advice from that, and I'm going to internalize that. Okay. I actually want to go into a bit more detail, I guess, on this particular thing. I feel like a lot of the online debaters that you see that are really big, they're a lot older than me, and they were around at a time where there was just a lot more debate happening. And my online presence, I just wasn't really, I wasn't really around for all that kind of stuff. I mean, I watched it on YouTube in YouTube videos, or I watched on stream, but I didn't I didn't partake in it, you know? And I feel like I missed out on a lot of experience from that. And it's one of those things that just kind of, I don't know, it's just one of those things that kind of makes me feel like I'm on the back foot with all of that, you know? Yeah, I'm also not gonna like go up to bat for everybody that I'm friends with because Destiny doesn't dislikes them. I'm not gonna turn it into a huge argument. That's not really, it's not really a good idea. Okay. No, but it is cringe of Destiny to be like, oh, and your girlfriend's a dumb fuck, like in a conversation with somebody. That's like, that is pretty cringe. That was a cringe post of him, but you know, I feel like letting that one hang would have looked a lot worse than being like, hey, listen, don't do that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's more cringe that you tell them. I don't know. I feel like letting it hang would have made it seem like I was just like, okay. Meanwhile, she can't talk shit, but he can say anything back. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, if you guys want to debate Destiny, you guys can just hit him up. He'll be happy to debate you. I still insist. Hey, Ricketts, I saw you in DGG chat. Hey. Wait, we probably have some DGGers in chat. Okay, listen. Regardless of your opinions on socialists or communists or whatever, all right, I'm gonna give a lowdown on my opinions. I think socialism, as how I know it, sounds like a good idea. But at the same time, there are a lot of things about it that I don't know enough about to fully dedicate myself to it yet. I also think even if I was a full-on hardcore socialist, 100% all in, that it would be pointless to advocate for it super hard anyway, because most socialist or super leftist policies are so far in the future, they're completely irrelevant to today's politics. So it's best to advocate for SOCDEM policies. SOCDEM policies are things that you can actually tangibly achieve in your lifetime with your political advocacy, and that's what I advocate for. That's what I work for, that's what I strive for, and that's what I believe in on like a base level today now. Sand thoughts on anarchism? I used to like anarchism a lot, but I'm not 100% sure about it now. It just seems like, I don't know. Oh, thanks for the tier 2 sub, Rick. It's based. But yeah, feel free to hang around any GGGers that came by. Have you asked Lauren if she's still friends with Gavin McInnes? No, I did not. I doubt she's friends with... Okay, this was something that would have been so cringy to bring up in my debate with Lauren. Holy fuck. Dude. Believe it or not, and this is in no way should this ever be used as a gotcha against Lauren. A lot of the right-wing male figures were super fucking creepy to Lauren Southern. There is a documentary in which Gavin McInnes, the quote was propositions, Lauren, in the documentary on the phone, and you could tell she was visibly like creeped out by that, okay? That is not okay, all right? That shit is super cringe. If I was to talk to Lauren about something like that, or her experiences dealing with people like that on the like the right, that would be a conversation to have down the road in private if she was comfortable with talking about it, if she brought it up, okay? That would be like, that is so out of the purview of any discussion me and Lauren would have that it would be terminal, like lung, like tumors in the lungs level of cringe to bring that up, okay? That is not okay. All right, so let's not bring that one up, Chad, okay? I think what you need to do is focus more on research, political theory, and exploring the method / structure of personal views. That'll help you in debates in the debates and your content. Yeah, I think that the content that I do does help brush up on certain topics for debates, obviously, but it's not the same as debating. Destiny was 100% right about this when he said most people that watch a debate are going to shower thoughts the fuck out of it, right? There are so many people that are going to watch it because you have to understand there's a reason why why collaborative projects are so much faster than one really smart person doing a thing, right? There's a reason why collaboration with multiple people always gets things done faster, almost always. Because when you've got 100 brains looking over something, you are going to get infinitely more insight and infinitely more brain power behind it than one really smart, super good at debate person doing the debate live in the moment. There's only so much stuff that you can follow. There's only so much stuff that you can acknowledge. And you constantly, one of the things that sucks with debates is, especially when there's an audience at least, is you constantly have to consider the optics of everything that you say. You can't just consider you can't just think ahead of what the response for the person that you're debating is going to say. You have to think about what the person, the people in the audience are thinking. And that's really tough to deal with. It's so much multitasking. And that's something I also need to work on a lot as well. Which is why, here in Season 4 of the Xander Hall arc, I'm going on every fucking panel show that I can, pulling as many people in for debates as I possibly can, and just getting as many as I can, okay? It's going to be the Xander Hall training arc, okay? I cannot grow my expertise on the occasional, like, scheduled debate alone that happens, like, every few months. I gotta do it as much as possible, and I can't just do it against randos that I pull from chat either. That's always good for, like, you know, practicing with, but you have to do, like, set topics against people that know how to debate as well. That's important. So that's what the main idea of, like, from today onward, Xander Hall Season 4, as far as that goes on for, is going to be. I don't want to do the Hippy Dippy Championship because I feel like that's jumping into the big leagues again way too early. I want to just sort of practice. You know, it's like going to the gym. Go on Prime Ks? I'll go on Prime Ks, yeah. I want to go on a lot of panel shows. Well, I don't know what me and Vosh would debate. Maybe whether or not Minecraft is a good game. Wait, fuck, but I don't even think Minecraft's a good game. I don't know. Minecraft's a good game, but it's a very disappointing game. Yeah, what Destiny said makes... I should have said this while we were talking, okay? The perfect practice makes perfect thing is exactly what my coaches told me when I was in... when I was on the swim team. Here's the thing. I wasn't like... I didn't do anything like big brain when I was in school, okay? My extracurricular activities were... Well, the extracurricular part doesn't apply to this, but video games and swimming. I was like a mix of a meathead and a nerd in high school, okay? And when I was, growing up. I didn't really do the super intellectual, like debate stuff, right? I mean, I liked educational things, I like to learn about stuff, but I didn't do that. That just wasn't the type of thing that I got into. So I feel like, once again, that starts me off on the back foot, which means I have to catch up to everybody else in the debate sphere in that respect. In this arc, Zan needs to declare war on Vosh's fan base. I feel like Vosh's fan base has declared war on me, honestly. But no, I do appreciate Destiny having me on to talk about this. I liked having Destiny on, despite how much he hates lefties. And he really does hate lefties. He really, really does. And I think it even gets to the point where it's irrational at times, okay? Well, I think it's irrational a lot of the time, okay? But I was not there to debate Destiny on his hatred for lefties. That's just a bad idea. We've done that before, and it wasn't a good idea. I think for the most part, the best way to go about that is just to be like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, we know, we've heard it. Listen, I've watched most of your videos, Destiny. I've heard the rants. I know why you hate lefties. I've seen the debates. Vosh fans do dislike Zan. It's absurd. You have to understand. Vosh's base audience, like the base audience that Vosh got like early on in the first like year of his content, they like me, okay? Because they know me and Vosh's history and like where I came from with politics and where Vosh came from with politics. They know like I'm not just some random person who came out of nowhere and like saw Vosh and decided to do like lefty debate stuff. But like the new people, a lot of them are the TikTok Zoomers. Vosh brought in like a shit ton of people from TikTok. Here, by the way, gonna shout out my TikTok right now. Might as well do it. It's the end of the video, right? Yeah, holy shit. Vosh brought in a ton of people from TikTok. He's got 185,000 followers on TikTok and 3.7 million likes. Holy shit. But for me, I just started, my girlfriend started up my TikTok and it's only got 174 followers. So do something about that shit. TikTok is pretty good to grow on. So I definitely want to do, I definitely want to have more of these up there. And I got to do YouTube Shorts too. Yeah. He had one really viral one too. But yeah, a lot of the TikTok Zoomers came into Vosh's audience and they don't know where I came from or where Vosh came from. And so they're like really, they post cringe a lot about me. It's unfortunate. But if you enjoyed this talk and this retrospective on the Lawrence Southern debate, which I'd like to do more of in the future with every debate that I do, see if I can have somebody on. Oh, Booksmarts, by the way. I'm going to be talking to Booksmarts. I don't know if it'll be on stream or off stream, but I will be talking to Booksmarts sometime soon. He's the guy who, I guess you could say, coaches Destiny on his debates. So that'll be really, really nice because I know Booksmarts is very good faith and he'll give like very good advice. I wanted to call him Bookfucker like Destiny's community does, but I don't know if we're quite there yet, okay? I don't know if we're on that level. I don't know if we're that tight yet, you know? We're talking about the Lindsay Ellis thing momentarily. But yeah, that's basically it. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell icon, of course. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The link's in the description. You can also join my fan Discord, the links as well. Also, I got to do a segment. Hey, babe, could you refill my water bottle so I can do a segment with the water bottle sponsorship? Guys, I fucked up my water bottle sponsorship and I did one less video sponsored than I was supposed to, so we got to do the next one sponsored. But yeah, hit the bell, subscribe. You can donate or sub on my website if you feel so inclined, and you can do so on YouTube if you want to as well. Not on Twitch. Not monetized on Twitch. Fuck Twitch. Thank you, baby. But yeah, thank you for watching, and have a good one.